If you're thinking about moving to Boise in 2026, you're not alone. And that's exactly the problem. Everyone discovered Boise at the same time. The secret's out. The small town charm people used to brag about, it's competing with rapid growth, rising home prices, and infrastructure that's racing to catch up. And the people who move here without understanding what Boise actually is versus what they saw on the Instagram are the ones who regret it 6 months in. So here's what most people don't realize. Boise isn't just one thing. It's not purely small town Idaho anymore, but it's also not trying to be Portland or Denver. It's somewhere in between. And that in-between space creates massive opportunities for people who understand what they're walking into and costly mistakes for people who don't. I'm Barb Dopp, and I've been helping people buy, sell, and relocate across the Treasure Valley for almost 20 years. I've watched this market transform, and I've seen every version of Boise move. The people who time it perfectly, the ones who overpay in the wrong neighborhood, and the ones who fall in love with the lifestyle they didn't know they were looking for. In this video, I'm breaking down everything you actually need to know about living in Boise in 2026. Not the highlights reel, the full picture. The lifestyle, the costs, the culture, the weather, the growth, and the trade-offs nobody mentions until you're already here. By the end, you'll know if Boise is right for you and exactly how to position yourself if you decide to make the move. If this is helpful, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now let's get into what living in Boise is really like. The Boise everyone talks about versus the Boise you'll actually experience. Let me start by leveling with you about what Boise actually feels like in 2026. The version of Boise that went viral during the pandemic, the one with affordable housing, easy to access mountains, small town charm, and zero traffic, that version doesn't exist anymore. It's not gone completely, but it's not what you're walking into if you move here now. Boise grew faster than most any metro in the country over the last 5 years. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the Boise metro area saw population growth of over 15% between 2020 and 2024, one of the highest rates in the nation. The growth brought jobs, restaurants, cultural energy, and development. It also brought traffic, rising home prices, and growing pains that the infrastructure is still catching up to. Here's the reality. Boise in 2026 is a mid-sized city that still has access to outdoor recreation at a slower pace than major metros, but it's no longer the undiscovered gem. You're going to sit in traffic on the I-84 during rush hour, you're going to compete for hiking parking on weekends, and you're going to pay more for housing than you would have 5 years ago. But here's what hasn't changed. The access to nature is still legitimate. You can be on a trail in 15 minutes. The sense of community is real, especially in the right neighborhoods. And compared to where most people are moving from, Seattle, the Bay Area, Southern California, Boise still offers a quality of life trade-up at a price point that makes sense. The key is knowing which version of Boise you're buying into and making sure it matches what you actually want. The real cost of living in Boise and why the numbers don't tell the whole story. Let's talk about what it actually costs to live here, because this is where a lot of relocators get surprised. According to Redfin, the median home price in Boise as early 2026 hovers around $550 to $575, depending on the neighborhood and time of year. That's significantly higher than it was in 2019, but still far below what you'd pay in Seattle, Portland, or most California metros. But here's what people miss. Your cost of living in Boise isn't just your mortgage, it's your utilities, which can be higher than expected if you're coming from a milder climate. Summers get hot, triple digits aren't unusual in July or August, and air conditioning bills add up. Winters are cold enough that heating costs matter, especially in older homes that aren't well insulated. Property taxes in Idaho are relatively moderate compared to states like California or Oregon, but they're not negligible. According to the Idaho State Tax Commission, the effective property tax rate in Ada County is roughly 0.6 to 0.7% of assessed value, which is reasonable, but still a line item you need to budget for. Then there's the lifestyle cost. If you're used to urban convenience, groceries, dining, entertainment, everything at your fingertips, you're going to drive more in Boise. Gas, car maintenance, and time spent commuting between activities all add up in ways that aren't obvious when you're just looking at housing prices. Boise isn't one single experience. Where you live determines your commute, your community, your access to schools, and your day-to-day lifestyle. So let me break down the key areas and who they're best for. Downtown Boise and the North End are where you get the most walkable, urban feeling experience. Tree-lined streets, historic homes, local coffee shops, and proximity to everything downtown offers. If you want to walk or bike most places and you prioritize charm and character over space, this is your area. The trade-off? Higher prices, older housing stock that often needs work, and limited parking. This is ideal for professionals, empty nesters, or people who value walkability over square footage. East Boise is family-focused, suburban, and convenient. You're close to schools, parks, shopping, and you get more space for your money than the North End. The neighborhoods here, think the Depot Bench or Barber Valley areas, they feel established and stable. The commute into downtown is manageable, and you're still close to the freeway for accessing Meridian or Eagle. This is the go-to area for young families who want a traditional suburban experience without leaving Boise proper. Southeast Boise, particularly around the Boise Bench, offers solid value and a mix of housing types. You'll find everything from older ranch-style homes to newer developments. It's more affordable than the North End and East Boise, and you still have reasonable access to downtown and the freeway. The trade-off is some pockets feel less polished and walkability varies significantly street to street. So we've covered what Boise actually feels like in 2026, the real cost of living beyond just home prices, and where different types of people should actually be looking. And if you're starting to realize that choosing the right area in the Treasure Valley is more complex than you thought, you're not wrong. That's exactly why I put together a free Boise relocation guide that breaks down neighborhoods, schools, lifestyles, and the questions you should be asking before you make a move. It's designed for people who are serious about relocating and want to feel confident they're making the right choice. You can grab it below, and it'll save you weeks of research. Now let's talk about the lifestyle factors that actually determine whether you'll love living here or regret the move. The climate and outdoor lifestyle, and what people don't expect. One of the biggest reasons people move to Boise is access to the outdoors. And that access is real. You can be hiking in the foothills in 15 minutes, skiing in Bogus Basin in under an hour, floating the Boise River in the summer, exploring trails, lakes, and mountains within a short drive. But here's what people don't prepare for. The weather's more extreme than you think. Summers in Boise are hot and dry. According to the National Weather Service, temperatures regularly hit the high 90s and low 100s in July and August. If you're coming from Seattle or the Bay Area, that heat is a shock. Air conditioning isn't optional, it's essential, and wildfire smoke can be an issue in late summer depending on the year. Winters are cold and gray. Boise gets snow, though not as much as you'd expect for a mountain-adjacent city. According to the National Weather Service, Boise averages around 19 inches of snow annually, which is manageable, but enough that you'll need winter tires or all-wheel drive. And the gray overcast stretches from November to February can feel long, especially if you're used to milder or sunnier climates. Spring and fall are spectacular. Mild temperatures, clear skies, perfect conditions for being outside. But those seasons are shorter than people expect. The outdoor lifestyle is absolutely one of Boise's biggest draws, but it requires the right gear, the right mindset, and a willingness to deal with temperature extremes. If you're moving here expecting year-round moderate weather, you're going to be disappointed. The social and cultural landscape and why it's changing fast. Boise's culture is evolving, and depending on where you're coming from, that evolution might feel exciting or uncomfortable. Historically, Boise has been conservative, family-oriented, and deeply rooted in Idaho values. That foundation is still here, but the rapid influx of people from coastal cities, Seattle, California, Oregon, has shifted the cultural mix. You've got longtime Idahoans who are frustrated by rising costs and changing dynamics. And you've got newcomers who are trying to bring the culture and amenities they left behind. That tension is real, and you'll feel it in different ways depending on where you live and who you're around. Some neighborhoods and social circles lean more progressive, and others are very traditional. The restaurant scene, the arts, and the cultural events calendar have all expanded significantly in the last 5 years, but Boise still isn't Portland or Denver. If you're expecting a thriving, diverse arts and food scene on that level, you'll be disappointed. What Boise does have is a strong sense of community, especially in the right neighborhoods. People are friendly. They care about their local schools and parks, and there's a real pride in being part of the Treasure Valley. But that sense of community can feel insular if you're new, and building a social circle takes intentional effort. The political and cultural landscape is also more mixed than people expect. Boise itself leans more moderate to progressive compared to the rest of Idaho. But you're still in a deeply red state. If that matters to you, it's worth understanding before you move. Let's talk about work. Because this is a critical factor that people either overlook or overestimate, Boise's economy has diversified significantly in the last decade. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, major employers include Micron Technology, St. Luke's Health System, Albertsons, and a growing number of tech companies and startups. The job market is strengthened, especially in healthcare, tech, and professional services. But here's the reality. If you're taking a local Boise job, you're likely taking a pay cut compared to what you'd make in Seattle, the Bay Area, or other major metro areas. Wages in Boise are lower, and while the cost of living is also lower, the gap isn't always proportional. If you're moving to Boise for a specific job or with remote work locked in, you're in a strong position. If you're moving speculatively and hoping to find work once you're here, make sure you've done the research and have a realistic plan. So let me close this section with the patterns I see from people who've made the move. What people regret. Underestimating the commute and traffic. If you live in Nampa and work in Boise, that drive adds up fast. And even within Boise, rush hour traffic on I-84 and the connector is more congested than people expect. Missing urban convenience. If you're used to walking to everything or having late night food options and cultural events on demand, Boise will feel limited. You'll drive more, plan more, and accept that some things just aren't available here. What people didn't expect to love? The access to nature is even better than they imagined. Even people who moved here specifically for outdoor recreation are surprised by how easy it is to integrate hiking, biking, and river access into daily life. The slower pace and lower stress. Once you adjust, a lot of people realize they're sleeping better, spending more time outside, and feeling less pressure than they did in the previous city. The sense of community and neighborhood connection. When you find the right area and the right people, Boise delivers a quality of life that's hard to replicate in bigger metros. Living in Boise in 2026 isn't the fantasy version that went viral during the pandemic, but it's still one of the best lifestyle moves you can make if you understand what you're walking into. You're getting legitimate access to outdoor recreation, a mid-sized city that's still growing into itself, and a cost of living that, while higher than it used to be, still makes sense compared to most of the West Coast. But you're also dealing with rapid growth, infrastructure that's catching up, weather extremes, and a cultural mix that's still finding its identity. The people who thrive here are the ones who move with realistic expectations, choose the right neighborhood for their lifestyle, and embrace what Boise actually is instead of trying to force it into what they left behind. If you do that, Boise rewards you with a quality of life that's hard to beat. If you're seriously considering a move to Boise and you want help figuring out where to live, what to expect, and how to position yourself in this market, my team and I help relocators navigate this transition every single day. Use the link below to schedule a consultation, and we'll walk you through exactly what you need to know. And if you want more detail on the best neighborhoods in the Treasure Valley, grab my free Boise Relocation Guide. It breaks down schools, neighborhoods, lifestyle fit, and everything you need to make a confident decision. Finally, if you're wondering whether now is the right time to buy in Boise or if you should wait, Watch this next video where I break down where the market is headed in 2026. I'll see you there.